and the leveling system works, anything that we add in the game is potentially new stuff for you to go see and new stuff for you to go experience.
Yeah, we go back and add a low-level dungeon to the game. Everybody can go play that and actually get rewards for it, and it's worthwhile for everybody. So I think that's a huge part of adding to that Endgame through our live team.
Cool. Anything else about Endgame that you want to talk about?
I think that's everything I can think of offhand. If there's anything you want to add?
I think just that I hope once people get to the end of the game, they can see that, one of the things that I've seen a lot of people remark on is, they hope the game is as polished, all the way through as it is toward the end. And I think it definitely is. And I think there's some really amazing stuff later on in the game that people haven't seen. It's not the one thing that strikes me just playing through the game myself is that you never really fall into oh yeah, I totally expected that. There's always a new thing. Like it's always something like, I just constantly am walking around and seeing cool stuff, and I don't want to spoil too many things in the end game. I almost said something that probably I shouldn't have. So, I hope people will really enjoy the end game and to know that we're going to keep supporting the game and we're going to keep adding to the game, and the game's just going to keep getting better.
So I think we're going to take a few questions here from those of you. So we have a question from Twitter from the Bill Murphy. Hey, Bill. One thing I've been very curious to know is how long it takes to develop a dynamic event compared to a standard quest. That's a great question. And the honest truth is that dynamic events take a lot more work than it takes to make a traditional MMO quest. I think by comparison, building quests in Guild Wars 1, we could knock a regular quest out in a pretty short amount of time. And our team working on Guild Wars 1, particularly in Prophecies and Factions and Nightfall, I think Eye of the North were a little bit bigger. But, for those first three, we were a very small team of folks. There were not very many designers and not a ton of folks working on any of those games. And the amount of staff that it's taken to build Guild Wars 2 is, it's, 5 times the size, 6 times the size.
At least for content designers,
For our department, to build that much content. And the reason for that is every time you build an event, you're not just building a quest. You have to take into account what happens when the event runs again. You have to properly clean up all the stuff after the event happens. You have to build all the rules for how the world changes as a result of that event running. And then you have to build all the events that chain off of that event. And it's extremely complicated. It is by far and away, as a content designer, it's the hardest thing that I think any of us have ever had to do. But the rewards are just so much more fantastic from what you get out of having that type of content as your core content model.
Yeah. And I mean, that was one of the things that I'm not entirely sure we knew we were getting ourselves into at the beginning of the project. So, but yeah, it's been very, very cool though.
One of the things too that doesn't get asked, but I think is a big part of that is how much harder is it to test a dynamic event than a traditional MMO quest? And our QA team, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they've kept up with all this stuff, because as that much harder as it is to build these, it's 10 times harder to test them because you have to get all these different event rules kicking off, and then you have to contend with any other event that can happen can run into your current event and cause stuff to change. They do an incredible job, and the amount of work it takes to actually keep track of all the things going on in this game is just nuts.
Yeah, QA department's fantastic here. So
our next question is from You're a Strawberry on Twitter. What would you say is the coolest elite skill in the game?
The coolest elite skill in the game. These are probably going to be different answers from each of us. Charzuka is kind of hard to beat, just because of the name and what it does. It's pretty cool. Although just for the amount of things that it does, I really, really love the engineer supply drop skill. I mean, it stuns, it heals, it does damage, it throws out turrets, it has a little bit of control, it kind of does a little bit of everything, which makes it incredibly versatile. So I think that's my favorite. I don't know about you.
My favorite changes constantly based on what I'm playing. I would say my favorite right now is the Thief Basilisk Venom that petrifies a guy. And the reason I like that one so much is because I run it with a trait that all my nearby teammates get whatever venoms I use. And so we've been able to do dungeons where we're starting to learn to work together, where I kick that up, everybody in the party gets Basilisk Venom, and we can lock a boss down for a little bit of time with Petrify, and we rotate through it. And that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so the next question is from Flatline Soul. Will there be holiday events like Winter's Day in Guild Wars 2?
Yeah, that's a good question. Absolutely, there will be. So especially for those established Tyrion events like the Mad King and Winter's Day. One of the interesting things that we'll have to see, and that will be an interesting evolution, is those were very sort of human-centric in a lot of ways, because they were very Guild Wars 1. And how do the other races view Winter's Day and the Mad King? So actually, I think we recorded some VO for the Mad King, so we'll get to hear the Mad King's voice for the first time come October. So that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I just saw some concept art of the Mad King this morning. He's looking pretty cool.
Yeah. Definitely holiday events.
The next one comes from Amanda Poopander. If there's one boss you'd want us to fight lookout for, which boss would it be?
Zaitan, maybe?
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. Don't miss Zaitan.
Yeah, don't miss Zaitan at all. Actually, my Zaitan aside, I think my favorite boss is actually the boss at the end of the Asura tutorial. Yeah, like the cube golem is really, really cool. I think it's our animators and creature guys went above and beyond on that one. That one's really, really cool. For people who haven't seen it, I think there's a video out there of it, but it's basically this gigantic golem that assembles itself out of these teeny little cubes, and then it has a bunch of really cool anims and things like that. It has a really cool death animation too. But I don't know.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. The end of the Flame Citadel dungeon. There is a pretty incredible char boss. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Just say he's well worth the trip if you get the chance.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
All right. The next question comes from Sunpiece. I understand some dynamic event chains are like pendulums. They have one ultimate fail state, one ultimate success state, and everything in between. I'm wondering if high-level events actually branch and may have several ultimate failure and success states. So, the thing with the event chains is some of them are chains that move directly up and down a path. Some of them are one-off events that just happen once, and then they don't run until that same event runs again later. And some of them are event webs that have a lot of different outcomes that go in a lot of different directions. And as you get further into the game and we start introducing players more and more to the event system and getting them comfortable with meta events, we start going away from the less involved events, and we start doing more and more big chains and event webs. And when you get into Ore in particular, a vast majority of the stuff there tends to be event webs where chains can move along a path, certainly, and as they get to one location, there are things that happen, but along the way there are all these different other events that branch and web out of that. So there are a whole bunch of different success and failure states that can be happening all over the place simultaneously, even along one sort of linear path. Once you get to certain points, other things start to branch off of that and go in other directions.
And I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, you might have, but Ore has, just as far as the number of events in it, it has far more than any other region, like at least twice, if not more than twice, right?
Yeah, it's about double the number of events for each map. And part of that is, having no renowned hearts there. There's a lot more heavier concentration of events to make sure that there's a lot of stuff to do. But yeah, Ore has a ton of events and huge event chains that span across the maps. And these big event webs that kind of take stuff in different directions. Question from Twitch TV chat. Who would win in a fight, Eric or Colin?
I think Colin would. I don't know. Colin knows how to swing a sword and swing it again.
I'd probably just smile at Eric while he pummeled me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We would never fight.
No, that would not happen.
Never.
All right. I think that's all the questions we have time for. I'm glad we got that last one in. That's really...
Yeah. That's an important one. Okay. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, thanks a ton, everybody, and we'll see you soon at the next TAD Talk.
Yep.